A great night of fights tonight with the boxing and the UFC. Let's just get into it. We'll start with the UFC card, Font versus Vera. Before I get to the main event, I want to showcase some of the earlier fights on the prelims. Natan Levi versus Mike Breeden was an amazing fight. Levi's takedowns were working really well early. He was getting them at will, and Breeden was pressuring him a lot, but Levi was comfortable on the back foot. And Levi was definitely up 2 rounds. He was landing good shots on the back foot. When Breeden would go to throw, Levi's counters were there to the head. When Breeden would punch, Breeden was ripping the body and throwing good combos, boxing-wise. But when he would punch, he would leave himself very open. He'd throw these hooks and wouldn't return his hand. Not moving his head really when he was punching. He was just kind of ripping shots, and that made him pretty susceptible for Levi's counters. And then Breeden, and in the 3rd round, just started going forward, and he was ripping the body. He was going super hard to the body. He didn't care what was coming back at him. Just kept going and kept punching to the body. And Levi looked really hurt. Like, his posture isn't great in general. He's got like this weird back arch going on him. His body looked like it was hurting bad, and it looked like he was gassing like quickly. Levi never looked like he was going to get finished. He would get like a 7 or 8 punch combo thrown on him against the fence, but then he would circle and always get out of there and get in some kicks and punches of his own. He never looked super out of there, but he looked so gassed, and it did look like he was coasting. But in the last minute, Levi just started rallying. Like, he rocked him twice, and he was just unloading combos. It didn't look like he had that left in him, but he did. And yeah, great performance from Levi. Some other notables, Francisco Figueiredo had a really nice knee bar early. He gets taken down, he gets rolled on top, and then he just snatches the knee bar up really quick, and dude had to tap really fast. Good for Francisco Figueiredo. The genes on the Figueiredo family are insane. They're all shredded in like 5'5", all 5'5" and shredded. And then Alexander Romanov, who was the biggest favorite in UFC history, minus 2,200, sorry, which is insane. But it's clearly not that insane because he ran through Chase Sherman. Like, Chase Sherman had no chance. And I put a parlay basically every UFC fight night on 12 fights, and I picked the winner of each fight, and I put like $1 or $2 or whatever with like a chance of winning 4 or 5K. But with the odds on Romanov and Sherman, how they were, I bet on Sherman. And me not betting on Sherman versus betting on him, not betting on him was a payout of like 4K or 5K or something. And then betting on him, I got 16K. Like, I could get 16K. So I'm like, why not? Might as well. Imagine he does it. But there was no way he was going to do it. He got dominated like that against Jake Collier, who fought Andrei Arlovski. I'll get to that later. But he got dominated like that against Jake Collier, who's nowhere near the wrestler like Romanov. And Chase Sherman obviously got cut from the UFC, and they called him back for this. And they were supposed to fight last weekend, but he had a health scare, like, fight day. Yeah, tough circumstances for Chase Sherman to get let back into the UFC, but it just showcased how Romanov is just a tank. And I'm super interested to see how he does against top light heavyweights, because his wrestling is amazing. Like, really good. And his striking isn't terrible. He stays pretty safe. He's not super ugly with it. The Grant Dawson and Jared Gordon fight, which was good. Grant Dawson is obviously an amazing grappler. I didn't know that he switched camps from James Krause to ATT. He cited, like, he was getting like too I don't know, comfortable, or like too used to the same spot over and over. Like, it was just going to the same gym, same partners, so he wanted a little change up, which I understand. Dawson's striking isn't bad. Like, it's not bad at all. Like, he's got tight striking. He's very defensively responsible. Jared Gordon was just walking him down, getting his face, and Dawson was timing those duck under takedowns, and he was just taking him down over and over. What I wanted to do was check the stats on the wrestling in that fight, because holy shit. Grant Dawson shot 17 takedowns in a 3-round fight. That's pretty wild. It says here he only successfully got 7 of them, which is 41%, but he had 7 minutes and 11 seconds of control time. In that 2nd round, he got to his back pretty well. Controlled him similar to like an Aljo Yon type of situation where he just controlled on the back. Super persistent with his wrestling, but I think Grant should be a little more confident on the feet, because his striking isn't bad. It's tight, like I said. Stays defensively responsible relatively, like hands up, like he's tucked, his chin's tucked, and his striking form is tight. Like, everything's compact, tight. I think he should be a little more confident, because maybe the the persistence of his takedowns and the consistency of his takedowns might get him caught against some of the upper echelon guys in lightweight. Yeah, in the third round, he gets another takedown after, like, just, again, super persistent with his takedowns over and over. Like, every chance that he gets to grab the leg, he's grabbing the leg. I'm surprised it was only 17. It felt like he attempted 35 takedowns in there. He gets the back, and he gets a weird variation of the rear naked choke that I hadn't seen before. He had the rear naked choke, but instead of putting the hand behind the head, I don't know if you can tell what I'm trying to explain, but instead he put it like in front, and what he called it in the post-fight interview, he called it the cranky 5-year-old, which was interesting. And then Bisping made a joke about his producers being a cranky 5-year-old if he didn't tell him to shut up. But yeah, he like had it across the face, and it looked like he was just kind of holding his neck there, but it worked. Got the tap. And then we go to the co-main, Arlovski versus Collier, and these guys were just headbutting the shit out of each other. The way Arlovski punches more recently, he gets his chin tucked, which is good because he can't get chinned too much. And supporting that, like, he rolls with punches really well. Like 4 or 5 years ago, like even more, like 10 years ago, people were just knocking Arlovski out over and over back to back fights, and like people were saying his chin's done, there's no way he can keep fighting. But he's found a way to like roll with shots well. Like when he sees an overhand coming, he rolls with it, and he ducks his head a lot in this like weird motion while he punches. He punches like ducking down like that a lot. So it's interesting, and I've always wondered why people can't pick up on it. Like the people he's fighting, like back up, like feint, make him do that punch, back up, uppercut. I don't know, but the way he does it is like it keeps him pretty safe. But he does that leaning his head to his left, and Collier leans his head to his left when he punches. So they were just clashing heads over and over and over. Arlovski's got good cardio. For a guy who's 43 and a heavyweight, he moves pretty well. He's pretty fast, too. Like, for a heavyweight who's 43 years old, bouncing around in there, like, for 3 rounds, it's impressive what Arlovski's doing. But he didn't win this fight. I think the second round he won, and I think the first and third, Collier edged. They were close rounds. Like, it wasn't like a robbery, I would say, but like Collier won. You know, like it wasn't a robbery. I think he was just doing a little bit more damage than Arlovski was. Arlovski kind of just stings nowadays. He doesn't really hurt people with his punches. It's kind of just bop, 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 and then get out of there. But yeah, good fight all around. Impressive that Arlovski's still doing this, and good for him. He's on like a 4-fight win streak right now, so good for him. And then we get into the main event, Rob Font versus Marlon Vera, and wow, this was a great fight. First of all, the whole time I was watching this, I'm like, how the hell is Marlon Vera not showing anything on his face? At the end of the fight, in the Octagon interview with Bisping, you could not tell, like, you would have thought that maybe he, like, hitting his head on the playground or some shit. Like, it was insane. Dude was not cut at all, and he absorbed like 225 strikes or something like that. His durability is insane. I don't know how long this is gonna last. He's never been finished, and he's been in the UFC forever. He entered the UFC when he was 6-1. He's like 18-7 now, or 19-7. He's been there forever. He's a vet, but he's only 29, and he is so durable. He relied so heavily on that high guard. Like, maybe that was what it was doing, but he ate a lot of clean shots. I want to say like 50 or 60 clean jabs, right hands, probably even more. Font's output was insane in this fight. In the first round, he came out hot, just jabbing, triple jab, cutting the angle, ripping the body. It was beautiful work from Rob Font. Just tagging him with the jab, keeping him at bay, and throwing the right hand along with it. Like, everything was beautiful from Rob Font. But it was kind of similar to the Aldo fight. Like, Font's output was good, but then he'd get rocked. He would be winning the whole round, and then Chito would rock him with something big. In the second or third, I want to say it was a knee. No, second it was a left hook. Third it was a jump knee that was really nice. Like, it was like super subtle. He didn't like jump huge into it. It's kind of just like whoop, and then it just boom, landed. Fourth it was a side kick to the face, and then fifth it was another side kick to the face. Chito was not moving his head at all. He was just putting a high guard up. I cannot believe he didn't take any damage. And then there's Rob Font, who he got hit with a lot of shots. Like, don't get me wrong, Chito wasn't just getting pieced up the whole round and then he landed one shot. He was landing shots as well. He landed a really nice intercepting jab in the second round. Like, right as Rob Font stepped in, broke his left orbital. The same way that Aldo hurt his left orbital. Like, the same orbital bone is what I'm talking about. Same eye. And it started swelling up, and that was just the beginning of the swelling. He had a huge cut on his head from an elbow. It was huge swelling on the other side of his eye. Like, it looked like a horror scene on Rob Font's face. Great fight there. Let me see some other things. Yeah, Chito just outpowered him. Oh, some funny quotes. Bisping, after he rocked him after Chito rocked Font in the 4th round, Bisping goes, "If you're Chito here, you go down on him." I liked that. Let's talk about the boxing. I turned it on DAZN. I was like, let me watch this. And wow, that was an amazing fight between those two girls. The 2-minute rounds are really, like, compact. You feel especially going from the UFC, which are 5-minute rounds. 2-minute rounds go by in a second. What a fucking fight. Those girls went at it the whole time. Serrano was walking her down. She was getting caught with Katie Taylor's check left hook in the early rounds. And throughout the whole fight, really, because Amanda would throw a right hand, like a right hand to the head, little jab, since she's in southpaw, and then she'd throw a left hand to the body. And sometimes she would watch it for a second and get caught with a left hook, or Katie started picking up on it, and she would throw the left hook whenever Serrano would go to the body with the rear hand. So yeah, Katie was catching her there, but then it started picking up for Serrano, and in the 5th round was crazy. It was just 2 minutes straight of them swinging back and forth at each other. Amanda had her backed up against the rope. Katie was just kind of content there. Like, Amanda cut her off well. She put her in the corner and started unloading body shots, headshots, just combos on days. For days. Combos on combos for days is what I was trying to say. And then Katie was trying to respond, cover up, respond. But then they get back into the center of the ring, and they're still throwing crazy pace on both of these girls. Then Amanda rocked her bad, and Katie was hurt bad. She was all wobbly, busted up in the nose, and then she just kind of clinched her way out of that round. And then in the 6th round, Amanda didn't put the gas on, as the commentators were saying, and kind of let her off the hook a little bit, gave her a little bit of time to get back into the fight a little bit. And she did. And in the 6th was close, but 7, 8, and 9 might have been Katie, all the way. Katie was unloading combos as Serrano would step in. Serrano just seemed a little slower, maybe, I want to say. Just a little bit. And she wasn't throwing as much. Her output wasn't as high, because that 5th round was insane. And then the 10th round, they just start... the whole round, again, they're just swinging at each other, and the end of that fight was amazing. They're both swinging bombs, and Katie Taylor caught it with 2 back-to-back, right hand, left hook, chin, and Serrano just kept sitting there throwing. It was insane. Great fight. Great for women's boxing. I thought it was amazing. And good on both those girls. And I thought Amanda Serrano did enough, but it was so close. It was so... razor close, but they gave it to Katie Taylor, so good on her. Hope to see a rematch, because that's the only fight in that. Those two girls are the only fighters that can compete with one another. That's the only competitive fight, really. Yeah, thank you for watching. This is a new style of video I'm gonna try out. I'm just gonna do it after every Saturday night next weekend. Gaethje Oliveira, and I want to say this: if Oliveira wins, I'm bleaching my hair blonde. If anyone sees this and holds me to it, fuck you, but I appreciate you, low-key, because you're all the way this deep in the video. And if you don't see me next weekend, or it won't be next weekend, because that'd be a quick bleaching, but right after, if Oliveira wins, I'll bleach my hair blonde. See you then.